As the two boats steamed side by side toward the Michigan, their destination at around 8 that evening, there was no sign nor any go-ahead signal from party boy Cole. Something was wrong. In fact, Cole was in custody, and he told a woman companion all about their scheme. Beall gave the order to board the Michigan anyway, and his raiding party said no way. All but mutinied after politely signing a note of refusal. So, amid a colloquy of cursing imprecations, young Beall let his men go. They scattered on the shore. The passengers were all put ashore, and Beall sunk the Philo Parsons for good measure, and he steamed on his way in the remaining vessel. He was seen a day or two later trying to get a grand piano with no title of ownership off the Island Queen and through Canadian customs near Detroit, perhaps forgetting that he was the most wanted man in the region. But he got away for a while. But then, it was on a cold night, a few months later, in the train station in Niagara Falls in December, when the checkered career of John Yates Beall, privateer, and the Mosby of the Waves came quietly to an end when a police officer tapped him on the shoulder while he and a fellow conspirator were sleeping at the train station. Maybe it was Beall's aloof, unfriendly reserve that didn't inspire love or loyalty in his subordinates. But immediately upon arrest, his 17-year-old companion turned him in. John Bell's powerful friends, personal wealth, and influence in Virginia politics was certainly needed now. But the politics of war had changed drastically since his last imprisonment. Just 2 months before, and just 3 miles from his own ancestral home at Walnut Grove, the remarkable Mosby, who was never captured, led his men on the famous Greenback raid, taking several $100,000 from a Union paymaster, while the average Union private salary was only about $60 a month. Tragically, John Yates Beall had to die. He had to be made an example. Beall languished in Fort Lafayette and then was moved to Fort Columbus on Governor's Island in New York. He awaited trial set for February 1865. Meantime, the New York papers trumpeted him as the martyr of the Southern cause, the Southern John Brown. One of Beall's oldest and closest friends, the crippled Daniel Bettinger Lucas, and a brilliant lawyer at that, had already gotten to Toronto to see their other old friend, Edwin Gray Lee, who was in the Confederate Secret Service, to see how to free their friend. Their hearts were bitter. Edwin Lee's home, Bedford, and his mother's childhood home was burned to the ground just 5 months before. And Daniel's home, Ryan Hall, had been taken over by General Sheridan when they launched the first phase of his draconian campaign through the valley. And it was said that Sheridan's men even rode a horse up the elegant staircase of Daniel Bettinger Lucas's home. Hearts were vengeful. The war was in its final, vicious, terminal stage. Lucas's letter offering to represent Beall in his defense were not even answered. The trial, overseen by General Richard Dix, was brief. Beall's defense was contradictory and futile anyway, with the argument that he was a civilian on one hand, which made him a punishable criminal. Then he argued that he was in the service of the Confederacy, and his acts were an act of war, which also made him a perfect scapegoat in a long, now thoroughly hated war. He could not win. The gavel came down. Guilty. John Yates Beall was to hang.